Join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I get a roll call?
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Andriano?
Here.
Mr. Wyndham?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Supervisor Williams?
Here. First on tonight's agenda is a presentation from New York Citizens Audit. Who is going to do this? If you would approach the mic and give your name, address, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. My name is Kevin Murray, 5 Highview Drive in Patterson, New York. I'm representing New York Citizens Audit. Also with me tonight is Susan Cadu. She is the New York Citizens Audit Putnam County team leader. I have some documents for you guys. Can I just go ahead and hand these to you?
Are they the documents you already emailed them?
Yes.
So
You have all of them? Okay. We do.
we appreciate you bringing them though, but
Okay, all right.
we try to be prepared.
Okay, so, if I could, let me just, give a little history. So give you the reason why we're here tonight. So going back to 2020, we saw especially, the election of 2020, a lot of changes were made by the states, to accommodate, I guess, the pandemic. And then we saw a lot of, elections contested in various areas of the country, and some of those contests are even legal challenges are even going on even today. So a group of New York volunteer citizens got together and said, okay, well, is everything okay with our elections? So the group that was formed as New York Citizens Audit, NYCA, otherwise known as NYCA, and they requested through publicly available information and also through information via FOIL requests from both the state and the counties. They gathered all the information most of the information for the 2020 election. At that stage, and of course that was in the evidence of records. Once they had gathered all the information, the data science team within New York Citizens Audit process and analyze that information and produce first of those documents, which is called the New York 2020 General Election Study Index. Okay. We just not involved in that. That's a 16-page report that goes through all the discrepancies or inaccuracies in how the 2020 election was conducted. And then that 16-page report from that introduced the summary sheet for the New York 2020 General Election Study. That summary sheet, you just noted that before summary, and I'll be telling work with that one page document for this presentation. So if you guys have that, if you have that in front of you, there's three basic tenets of an election. Voter rolls must be accurate. Votes counted must be equal to the voters. Total number of votes must be equal to the number of voters. And the findings from the study in depth show that there was over 2 million voter ID numbers that were attached to 1.17 million registers. Yeah, your New York State voter ID number, like your driver's license number, like your social security number, you only get one per lifetime. So obviously there's a problem with voter rolls in New York State. I'm not going to go through all these but then there's 1.9 million registrations in the state voter rolls missing from the county voter rolls. So the counties are the only ones that can add or delete a registration. So the state voter rolls is really just simple math. You just add up the voter rolls in the 52 counties. That gives you the state voter rolls. So there shouldn't be a discrepancy between the state voter rolls and the county voter rolls, especially not 1.9 million registrations. The other then of course there's 640,396 ineligible votes statewide in this 2020 election. And I guess the big one that jumps out at you in these lists is 338,000 356 more votes cast than voters who voted. If we were to have a vote tonight with 100 people here in the house, should end up with 100 ballots, If we end up with 101, somebody voted twice. We end up with 99, somebody's vote got passed. So the number of votes must equal the number of voters. So because of these findings, that New York City audit did, so because of that, and there was no major changes from 2020 to 2022, New York City audit is now calling on New York State to do a full end-to-end audit of the 2022 general election to find out the true error rate and to make correction in how they do and how they govern and how they administer and certify elections going forward. So I'd like to go ahead and read the resolution and then after that and then resolution for an audit of the New York State 2022 general election. Whereas it is a recognized civil right in the United States for every citizen to have free and fair elections, quote, and the right of suffrage can be denied by debasement or dilution of the weight of the citizens' vote just as effectively as by wholly prohibiting the free exercise of the franchise, unquote. Reynolds and Sims, 377 U.S. 533, 1964. Whereas if the affirmative duty of our election officials to comply with all federal and state laws governing administration and procedure of our elections, hereby guaranteeing our elections are accurate and free of distortion or manipulation. Whereas our constitutional system of representative government only works when the worth of honest ballots is not diluted by invalid ballots procured by corruption, and assuring accuracy can only be achieved through the operational integrity of our elections as defined by those laws governing the following 5 processes: rigorous verification of voter identity, proven ballot security, and intact chain of custody, voting system certified to be secure from operational, physical, or cyber threats. Number 4, meets all FISMA and state operational risk assessment requirements. 5, meets auditability and traceability requirements and operational department. Whereas the open source audit of the New York 2020 general election conducted by New York Citizens Audit has uncovered evidence of massive inaccuracies that violate both federal and state laws, including 2,427,827 NYS voter ID numbers attached to 1,170,790 registers, 740,000 ineligible votes cast statewide, 338,356 more votes cast than voters who voted, 987,000 voters who registered on January 1st from 1900 to 2021, 1.9 million registrations in the state voter rolls missing from the county voter rolls, 625,359 more registrations than voting age citizens in 6 counties alone, 195,271 votes cast in New York City that went missing from the NYS voter database, 1 million plus federal violations of New York State election law, 95 state and local legislative races impacted by 740,396 ineligible votes, abandoned ballots and ballot payment schemes, certification as defined by law was provably fraudulent and illegal. Whereas these findings trample accuracy requirements of voting safety for the federal election, wherein the system shall achieve a target error rate of no more than 1 in 10 million ballot positions. For a voting system, accuracy is defined as the ability of the system to capture, record, store, consolidate, and report the specific selections and absence of selections made by the voter for each ballot position without error. Whereas it must be known factually and proved that the intent of the voter is accurately represented by election results before certification can be lawfully conducted. Certification of an election that varies from the law is an infringement of the civil rights of the citizens. A fraud ab initio, United States versus Throckmorton, 98 US 61 1878. Whereas state and federal officials have met the efforts of New York Citizens Audit to seek redress for these egregious violations with indifference and inaction, including the Attorney General, Secretary of State, State Board of Elections, Inspector General, Federal Bureau of Investigations, state leadership of Democrat and Republican parties, county election officials, sheriffs, district attorneys, and others. Whereas none of these violations were addressed prior to the administration and certification of the 2022 general election, and there prevails a spirit of extreme contention and zero trust between the people of differing political ideologies across New York, which is destructive to our families, our way of life, and the fabric of the United States. Therefore, we call upon our representatives, including town board members, county legislators, state legislators, federal legislators, law enforcement, federal and state prosecutors, and judges to provide relief to the people and ensure an assurance of domestic tranquility through the fulfillment of each of the following government requests. 1, a complete end-to-end audit of the New York State 2022 general election for both paper and electronic records, including ballot by a mutually agreed upon external third parties, bonded auditing firm possesses adequate insurance and identification for the handling and protection of the personal identifying information of millions of New York citizens in order to determine the true error rate. This audit will provide a comprehensive report and analysis of all aspects of error with explanation of fault where it can be determined. 2, the enactment of legislation defining a mutually agreed upon process by which an end-to-end audit would be triggered in any future elections. 3, the enactment of legislation defining a mutually agreed upon accuracy rate for the NYS voter and county voter roll databases. 4, the enactment of legislation allowing for anonymous verification and tracking by the voter, open source, royalty-free, patent pending, including automatic mechanisms to report and remedy errors during the canvass period following election, regardless of ballot entry source. And 5, criminalize election misconduct explicitly with regard to state election law and increase penalties to reflect the societal and generational harms inflicted by well, be it resolved that the town board of Patterson, New York, standing support for the concerns and remedies presented here. We implore the Cumberland County Legislature, New York State Legislature, federal legislators, law enforcement, federal and state prosecutors, judges, and both state and county board of elections cooperate to fulfill these firm requests of the people. So that makes that's where we source for our data, which is copy of the New York State voter database obtained via FOIL request from New York Board of Elections on October 21st, 2021. Copies of the county board rolls obtained via FOIL between September and December 2021. The 2020 certified statewide general election results downloaded from the official website of the New York State Court and within the short time later. In the 2012, beginning with the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, and ending with New York Penal Law, Article 3, Title K 170.110, 1473. All of them. And I'm sorry, I'm done at the very well, and handout I have contact information. Do you have any questions?
You.
Okay. Fire away.
All right, so listen, I want to start off by saying thank you for coming here tonight, presenting this. It was very informative. I did read the report and I did actually go up on the website. And the information contained in these documents is very concerning. And it should be very concerning to all of us. In generally, I support what you're doing and I support the concept. I support the resolution. I do have some concerns about the way the resolution is written that I think I need to address with the town attorney before Before we move on this, and I want to have a further conversation with the town board. So is it your intent that the town board would adopt this resolution and then distribute it to our state and local officials?
Yeah, so the, I guess the goal of it is, yes, so we're coming to the towns first, because they're the election officials that are closest to the people. So we're coming to the town board members first. I guess the stated goal would be to get the majority of the towns in the county. At that stage, then we could, you know, pressure the county to adopt the resolution. We get a majority of the counties in the state, then we could pressure the state legislature to adopt the resolution, and then at that stage, you know, have an audit conducted.
And ultimately, it's the state board of election that would conduct that audit. Correct?
Would be the state.
We would like to have an outside company that,
That's what you're looking for, is an independent auditor to come in.
Correct, yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah, it says, I mean, I'm pretty sure it says third party.
Yeah.
Yes, right, yeah, so.
All right. I
It wouldn't be the
apologize.
state, right? Yeah,
Have you approached any of the other towns yet?
no, this is the first, so.
Oh, aren't we?
Yeah, you get the first of them, yes. So give yourselves a pat on the back, yeah.
Yeah, in all of New York State, this is.
No, just in Putnam County, I'm not sure about New York, I know Chemung County, had a presentation. I'm not sure if that was for the episode or for the we had resolution, but yeah, so I just know that you're the person Putnam County.
The resolution is being presented in a bunch of towns throughout the state right now. I mean, each day we're hearing of different things happening.
Oh. Do you want to just stand beside?
And if you could just, so we have it, state your name.
My name is Susan Cadu. I
Thank
live
you.
in Putnam Valley, so I'm not Patterson.
Oh, you drove all the way over here?
Of course, this is very.
Sean just came from.
I just came from the Pub Valley Town Board meeting at
Oh,
5 o'clock
okay.
tonight.
That'll be a hot one
We
tonight,
switched on the
sure.
road, must have passed each other.
It is, the resolution is being presented to towns all throughout the state because we really didn't get any response when this information was presented to the Secretary of State and to the governor and to the higher up Board of Elections. So we, the people we live in these towns, and the towns really should be the most sided with us. So we're hoping to be able to succeed at a town level throughout the counties, and that at a county level throughout the state. So I have submitted the resolution to my town in Putnam Valley. And I know that there's been other towns throughout the state that have already had the resolution presented to them. Some of them have signed on. If you want an official list of those towns, I can get that. I don't know what they are, but every day, I know there was presentations last week. There was a presentation Monday and Tuesday. It's going on constantly throughout the towns, throughout the counties, throughout the state. So this is really important information, and it's horrific that
we have to
I
do
don't
something
know,
with this.
yeah, that it has to come to
Yeah,
this.
I agree.
And these laws that are being passed by people that have been quote unquote elected, but we don't know if they were really elected. In 2020, the information that Kevin read is from 2020. And there are 95 elections that are impacted by this. And what it doesn't say in the deficits report is that it's not only impacted, but these 95 elections, federal and state elections, they can't prove who won but between the difference of the margin of victory and the discrepancies that they found in those districts and those counties. 95 people are making laws for us that we don't know. Do they have the legal right to do that? So we're asking, please, that you look into this. That's, we're just hoping that you will understand, as citizens of this state and this country, as free Americans, we deserve to have our vote counted, and we're not so sure that that's happening right now.
So what happens, when you the independent audit gets approved and it's found, all this evidence is found to be true, what happens next? Do
I don't know.
people
I
get
don't-
arrested? Do people, people who are wrongfully elected, does that get reversed? Or is it something maybe, or is it something that going forward, we can going forward with other election, changing election laws and
Right, that would be.
I think we're kind of in unprecedented territory here, that I don't think anything like this has ever come up before. I don't know, and I'm the Putnam leader for New York Citizens Audit, but I'm not a researcher. I was a physical therapist until I lost my job because I didn't get vaccinated, and someone made those laws and those decisions that affected my career, and I can't work in New York State right now.
Yeah.
And that got me motivated to find out what's going on. Something's not right here. This is
Yeah.
America. There are plenty of people, researchers and the director, Marley Hornick of New York Citizens Audit. There are plenty of people that can answer some of those questions for you. But as far as what happens after, I don't think anybody knows because it's never happened before. So I don't know.
Well, again, like the town supervisor says, we thank you. This is stuff that we always suspected, but now you guys did research and are proving it, which is, it's awesome. So.
Can I ask one question? Sure. I love the list of the numbers, the facts, the information that you provided that paints a picture. It's a dismal picture, but it's one that I think speaks to action being needed. The fourth bullet down, it says basically 987,000 voters who registered on January 1st from 1900 through 2021. What does that mean? I don't understand that statement. What is that indicating?
I'm glad you called that out.
All the others are pretty self-explanatory. So you're not, okay.
Very interesting.
Is it possible that's just like, if I fill out an application though, and
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't matter for tonight, but I'm glad that you mentioned that. Essentially, what you're indicating is that people were registered on a day when it's a federal holiday and the offices wouldn't have been open
Right,
to do
right,
such.
right.
So that would be an interesting follow-on to say, oh, it really means this, or,
What we've been hearing is the Board of Elections say, well, that's a default date,
okay,
you know?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's no provision in the law for default date.
I understand.
So,
So this could be simply one of those like office policies where they filled out the application, it got processed, and they assign it to a certain date.
But
More so, the other ones seem pretty more clear cut.
by election law, you can't have
Can't
a
do that.
default
I
date
understand.
on a voter registration.
But today,
There is
not what.
a piece of information, the date that they registered. So we don't know. I'm glad you.
Oh, I was paying attention, see that?
Yeah.
Reading through the info, but that's the one that didn't make sense to me.
Until now, so even we were on paper in the past and we are now, it's all electronic. But it's been over 20 years or more that we've been electronic, so if it was, just jotted down initially on paper that we'll correct this in the future, it's been decades literally, and they haven't updated it, and it's.
Well, this
concerning.
strikes
It's
to the very core of a fundamental problem we have in this country right now, is that we don't believe everything our government does, right? We don't have confidence or credibility. You mentioned Putt Valley. That's kind of what I was down at Putt Valley tonight. We were talking about water quality issues, a big hot topic down there. Trying to educate and build back that credibility in the local system, right? That forget about what the federal government's doing, but on the local level, we can help each other. And I think this is really great that you are doing something in your own community. I agree with what has been said prior, that this speaks to the fundamental issue that people want to feel like, number one, most and foremost, is that my vote counts, and it only counts once, right?
Right.
And that what I'm doing makes a difference. But also to recognize that the system is fair, that it takes into account all of these things. So I applaud you for what you're doing, really do. And I think you hear that. I think you've got support for what you're doing. It's maybe how we get there that we'll just have to maybe just decide.
tweak a little.
Yeah.
Tweakle. I do want to jump back to what, Sean's question, though, if you go into the body of the report, what was also very interesting. Of all those people registered on January 1st, 75% of them were in 5 counties.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
We didn't get information back from all of the counties. I don't know the exact number, but there's 62 counties in New York State, and FOIL requests were put in for all this information in all of the counties, and some counties never responded. So this information is not completely statewide, so just to let you know, we don't have.
Not the exact picture, but it paints a pattern of some questionable issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to say that you're very brave doing this. And I wish you a lot of luck. And I look forward to us moving forward on a conversation and supporting the cause.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate it.
You know when, you might be ready to, adopt it? Or,
Well, I'll have a further conversation with individual town board members and the attorney. I'll put it on for the next agenda in 2 weeks.
okay, all right, appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
More than welcome to stay, but it gets kind of boring after this. Okay, can I get a motion on those boards?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the dog control officer report for February 2023. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the supervisor's report?
I'll make a motion. We approve supervisor's report for January 2023. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I get a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion. We approve the town board meeting minutes of February 8th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Somebody like to audit the bills?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve abstract number 4 dated February 24th, 2023 in the amount of $255,058.63. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We have no budget transfers, so I'm gonna jump right into it. Actually, maybe it's not gonna get so boring. So in this year's budget, there's a couple of different proposals being pushed by the state. One of them has to do with accessory dwelling units. I haven't had a chance to really address that. For me, the bigger concern was the transit-oriented development proposal that's in the budget. Governor Hochul is looking to change the state laws and strip municipalities who have a Metro North train station or a commuter train station in their community. Strip them of their rights to zoning and self-determination of how their land use policies are going to be structured. One of the interesting parts of all this is everything we do at a local and county level is subject to an environmental review. We have to take a look at what the impacts from traffic, from air, from stormwater, from groundwater. We have to look at all those areas of our environment and determine what the impacts are going to be. Governor Hochul is requiring us to adopt zoning, which would give an average lot density of 20 dwelling units per acre. Essentially within half a mile of the train station. And I say average because they do take some of the lands out, but there are some lands that they leave in. We have to include within that criteria, such as the rec center, such as Patterson Town Hall, such as the school system, the quarry. These are areas that are never going to be built, but we still have to consider them in developing the overall lot density. So working with Shannon on GIS, we did do a quick analysis. And essentially what that means is we're looking at an average lot density of 28 dwelling units per acre in the hamlet of Patterson within half a mile of the train station. And understand it's not just half a mile of the train station, but it's half a mile of the train station and any parking area is operated by Metro North. So instead of having what you're typically going to have in a half-mile radius of about 520, 530 acres, we're looking at a land area of almost 1,300 acres. Now we subtract a lot of that out because a lot of it's wetlands. some of it's, so we got that out. But at the end of the day, she's looking to the town to adopt zoning. And she's not looking, she's mandating that the town adopt zoning within 3 years. And if anybody makes a proposal before that 3 years, we still have to use the criteria. This is going to generate 17,000 dwelling units in the hamlet of Patterson. That's what she's looking for. If it all gets built out. Now, reality is it's not all going to get built out tomorrow.
Right.
But we're going to have zoning, which would allow that kind of a density. It's going to affect everything we do here. It's going to affect fire services. We're not going to have a volunteer fire service anymore.
Would it allow for, so essentially you'd be saying you have to put this density regardless of, I know we have members of the fire department here. So if we said, well, this results in us having a 20-story apartment building on Front Street, but we don't have the capability to protect that by fire protection. Like it's basically not even taking into account any of those issues.
No.
Right.
We have 3 issues. We have 3 issues that we can look at. We can look at sewer, we can look at water, and we can look at architectural design if we have established standards, which for residential buildings, we don't.
Right.
So that's all we can look at. We can't look at fire. We can't look at stormwater runoff. We can't look at building setbacks. We can't look at floor area ratio. We can't look at building coverage. She's exempted all of those things. She's exempted any environmental review. This is the most insane proposal I've ever seen.
I'm wondering what the city of New York thinks about this, the DEP, for instance, with all the water quality work that you said, the environmental reviews are designed in part to protect our watershed. And this would fly in the face of that. So you have competing issues here.
I will tell you, I have contacts down at the DEP and they are incredibly upset about this. And they're trying to work through the process to try to scale some of this back. So, I provided the town board with the actual legislation. I provided them with a letter that has gone out from the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation, objecting to the fact that there's no longer going to be an environmental review of the impacts. I know other municipalities are drafting a letter. I've drafted a letter on behalf of the town of Patterson to the state. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to really look at it because I didn't get it done until today.
Rich, I apologize.
This is the letter you're speaking about.
That's the one that's going out from the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation. This is the one that I did today.
Oh, is that in here too?
Yep. That's it.
Okay, well. In reading the East of Hudson letter, which I think is excellent. So I finished reading, my reaction was, you ought to send this letter to the editor in the 3 papers that hit Patterson. And or I'll even say this about your letter. From the town, one of those 2 letters should go into the newspaper. Because you just expressed eloquently the problems that this ill-conceived legislation is going to cause to us. I mean, it's like crazy. So I applaud East of Hudson, you, for writing that letter and sending it up to the governor. And if you have the letter, oh, I know where it is, from the town. It's going to the governor also. Either one, I'm sure that the body of the letter is pretty similar.
It's not, it's actually not.
It's not.
So with the East of Hudson letter, we actually focused on the impacts on stormwater and the fact that they're taking away seeker, the environmental review, for consideration on what the impacts might be. My letter goes more into depth about what the actual impact is going to be to the community and the community character, the fact that,
Quality of life.
yeah, the fact that now somebody is gonna be buying a house in the hamlet of Patterson with the intent of tearing down that old historic structure, because the lot is worth more. If they can get sewer and water, and there are ways they can do that, the lot's gonna be worth more, you know, with 20 dwelling units. An apartment building.
I send both letters to the editors of the papers. I really would.
Well, I've, albeit not every word, but I've skimmed through enough of this to get a flavor of what is in this letter, and I'm supportive of sending it to the governor.
Oh, yeah.
Since you send it from the whole board from east of Hudson, why not send our why not you send your Patterson letter on behalf of the whole town board? So
Well,
it shows
generally,
that-
when it comes out of the supervisor's office, it is, which is why I've got it here too.
I'm just saying, you know, how so how you have the east of Hudson, you have everyone listed and everyone signed.
You want everybody to sign it, Pete?
Just kind of looks more representative that the whole board is
Put everybody's signature on it.
that we're all supportive of it as a town board, but it just the supervisor.
Anything that would get the governor to listen a little bit
The
more.
other supervisors, did they send a letter as well? I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
hoping that they,
There's.
or they plan to.
There's ongoing discussions. I don't know that any other supervisor has done a letter. I intend to share my letter with the other supervisors. I did have a conversation with one of the supervisors. And you have to understand, this really only impacts those municipalities that have the Metro North tracks running through them.
Mhm,
Pauling, Southeast, Patterson, North Salem,
mhm.
right on down. Yeah, that's true. Cold Springs, Phillips Sound. So I did have a conversation with one of the local supervisors who, yeah, I've kind of heard about it, but I haven't had a chance to look into it. And we had a conversation and we started looking into it. So,
And they just have a meeting on this? I thought I saw something with the,
so I believe Representative Mike Lawler just had a meeting down in North Castle where they discussed this. They discussed some federal issues. And you know, this was the hot topic down there. Absolutely, yeah. That was yesterday morning.
yeah, I think so.
Do we have any extra cause to dispute this with the fact that we're not electric, as long as not electric here?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, this is all about local municipal zoning. We've always been a home rule state. The criteria within state law supports the town being a home rule state, requires us to go through a comprehensive planning process where we look at what our community is, look at the regional impacts. We, you know, we need to address seeker when we're doing that comprehensive review. And then all our zoning has to flow out of that. It has to be compliant with whatever the requirements are of that comprehensive plan, which is what we do. But
Sorry, they're having a party out there.
yeah, it sounds like it.
No,
I'd be curious to know how now Southeast has that whole plan prepared. I mean, is that, you know, gonna throw them,
Brewster,
yes,
yes,
so that doesn't count? It's not,
this
Part
would
of this?
override it.
Yeah, this is gonna. put a
well,
big
that's what
hole
I'm
in that
saying,
plan,
is
what
this
you're
is
saying.
throwing a whole monkey wrench
Yeah.
into that, you know,
Yeah.
plan that they have
They've
down
been
there.
planning for years and years, and this is gonna usurp that authority. Yeah.
So I don't know what they're gonna do as far as Southeast Metro, the Metro, Brewster North train station, right? All zone commercial around there, overrides all that.
Mhm.
So when we did the analysis here, one of the things I looked at is if 25% of the housing that they're requiring gets built out, just 25% over time. Right?
Mhm.
And every one of those units has a child,
I was
you will
thinking that
have doubled
myself.
the occupancy, you will double the student enrollment in the
Mhm.
Carmel Central School District, doubled it.
Wow.
Thank
Thank you, Governor.
Electric one.
Well, this all falls in line with what the state's been doing for like the last 10 years or so with you know, all these mandates that have been imposing on us and taking more and more control and pull away from local towns.
Yeah.
And counties.
And that speaks to the last group being in here about the people standing up and saying, hey, there's things going on, we need to take a stand for it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think people are feeling that way across the spectrum, you know, with being tired of being pushed around by big government, I guess.
Right. So this is in the governor's budget, right?
Yeah.
It's a budget proposal. She had 30 days from the time she submitted it to make any changes to it. She did not, which is why we're a little excited right now. But we need to let our local representatives know that this is a serious area of concern. And we have been talking with Peter Harkin, our senator. We have been talking with Matt Slater, our representative. But reinforce that this is a serious issue, because when it gets to voting on the budget, we want to make sure this gets taken out.
Right.
Because if they're just gonna, vote on all the budget, and all the budget bills and not make any changes. The only avenue left to us is through the courts. And that's gonna be an expensive proposition.
So what is Peter Harkin's response?
Well, he understands our pain. He understands we're not comfortable, and he's trying to work through things. Now, Senator Harkin has been one of the ones that has been the other bill. He's been pushing the other bill about requiring towns to allow accessory dwelling units. Well, we do allow accessory dwelling units, but we have standards. The state bill says you just need 5 feet off of a property line. You can have an accessory dwelling unit on your property that's only 200 square feet. That's a big shed,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? You can't look at whether they need parking. You can't look at other things. I understand that Senator Harkin has revised the bill so as to encourage municipalities to do that and incentivize it, which I would support. But the governor's bill makes it mandatory, and not only makes it mandatory, but requires the town to adopt zoning that is going to encourage at least a 3% growth rate in accessory dwelling units over 3 years. And if we don't do that, then the state's stepping in and taking control. All right, so I'm gonna, at this point, unless there's any other questions anywhere, I'm gonna move on. Please take a look at what I wrote. If there's any edits you want, let me know. I'd like to get this all resolved. I'll put everybody's signature on it, Pete. And we'll leave it downstairs, and if everybody can come in and sign it, I'll have it ready by Friday. You can get back to me with comments. Fair enough?
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right, next on my agenda is a request from the Putnam Lake Park District to purchase a bench. Oh, by the way, I apologize for this. Going back for a little bit. We made maps. I'm gonna steal yours, Paul. This is a map of the area in question. Right. All right, moving on. Putnam Lake Park District is looking to purchase a bench. And Laura, are you on by any chance?
I'm here.
All right, good, great. So they're looking to buy a bench. They're looking, and we have some money to buy the bench. We have $1,129 in the account. Originally, she was looking to do 2 4-foot benches. She's looking to do cedar, and there is actually going to be text on the bench. And with the anchors, that comes to a total of just under $600. I don't know exactly what the shipping, because they have not gotten back to me with the shipping. I would anticipate the shipping is going to be probably somewhere between $75 and $150, so it varies. Or instead of doing, 2 4-foots, which is gonna push the budget, we can do 1 6-foot. And, then we can have some money left over to do maybe some landscaping or some other things. Laura, you want to jump in?
Yeah, we don't want actual wood. We wanted the composite plastic that will last forever.
Right, and that's what this
Okay.
is.
Okay,
This is from the company that you sent me the link to.
okay. You just said we wanted cedar, but cedar is wood, so I wanted to.
I'm sorry, yeah, but cedar is the color you picked.
Yes.
Cedar tone.
How,
Sorry.
So Laura, what is the the advisory board's preference, the 2 4-foot benches or 1 6-foot?
I don't think there's a preference. We kind of just wanted it to look like a little memory area where people could just sit and reflect.
That being the case, I would recommend we go with the 6-foot, and that'll leave us a little bit of money to maybe plant a tree, some landscaping, and cover the shipping costs.
Sounds good.
Are we mentioning the engraving or is that?
Well, I was trying to avoid that. You have it in front of you without giving out too much detail, unless you feel it's appropriate, we can do that. But there will be an engraving on it.
Be more appropriate when they unveil it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Sean, you probably know, or actually Rich. How do they, if it's composite, how does that last? Thank you.
It breaks my heart to say it lasts better than wood, but
It does.
don't have to maintain it. It doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, but more's the pity. Because I love wood, but
Yeah,
Okay.
we just, and I'll know better when the bench gets here. If they're metal feet, we're gonna need to figure out how we're gonna put it on something.
Well, yeah, you always worry about, you would hope no one would mess with a bench of this nature, but people suck. We can say that, and kids do stupid things, so we probably have to anchor it. So,
Well,
Wait.
I am ordering the anchors, so
Yeah.
we'll have the anchors, and if not, I've got anchors at my house I can donate. My concern more was, we're gonna have to mount it probably on some blocks, we can get some
Yeah.
flat blocks. Put it under the feet so the feet don't rust.
yeah,
Well, if I can comment, I think a 4-foot is probably kind of small.
Yeah.
I would go with the 6
two
foot.
people barely.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, I'll make a motion that we purchase a 6-foot recycled plastic bench with engraving from OCC Outdoors. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next, we have a request from Veterans Memorial Park to do some improvements to the ball field. This came in late today. So they're looking to do some improvements to the soccer field and the baseball field. I was actually out there and took a look with Mary Butler, who chairs the Park Advisory Board, and met with one of the consultants. And I was very comfortable with what he was saying out there. It is the consultant that they did select, who also was a low bidder. And I have had,
Was what? What did you say?
he was also the low bidder.
I thought,
I thought you said he. did
I
you hear
heard
it?
that.
Well, I thought you said
A
he was
little
also a
bitter.
little bitter.
Oh.
He's good at that.
I know.
Oh, sorry.
And I also, I've received a couple of complaints in my office about the condition of the soccer field, the turf on it. I did go out there. I think the turf is a little rough, but I think it's easily managed. And there is a corner where they're playing that slopes down a little bit. We can fix it a little bit, and they're proposing to do that as well.
Excuse me.
Any town board member have any questions about this?
I do, before we spent all this money, we never got all our answers from the Park Advisory Board as far as questions about if we're gonna even use the ball field. They were supposed to get back to us with meeting with the baseball people, who's gonna maintain it. And all those questions, if like, there was gonna be questions about, can they play baseball and soccer at the same time? Is there enough room for parking? All those questions we haven't gotten answers to. So I'm not really comfortable spending money on fixing up the ball field if we don't even know if we're gonna be using it or not.
All right, so I do know that discussions are ongoing. I know there was a park advisory board meeting last night where there were a lot of discussions. At this point, Mary, the chairperson for the park advisory board, is looking for schedules from both organizations. And then at that point, she is planning on trying to mediate a schedule where they can both, use the fields that they need to in a manner which they, are looking to do. Parking is not an issue out there. We have plenty of parking out there. We just have to open up the lower parking area.
I just feel more comfortable. I thought the park advisory board was gonna get back to us with those questions.
They haven't come up with those answers yet.
Yeah, I don't think they have the answers.
So like I said, I don't feel comfortable spending money on something we don't even know if we're gonna be using.
But the problem we have is the season is almost upon us. We need to get this done so it can get stabilized so that the two organizations can use the field. Otherwise,
I
we're
guess
gonna have to wait till next year.
well, and I understand, I hear what both of you are saying. The idea is that, yes, we have to schedule work to get things done. We have two different organizations that are obviously interested in using the park. And, I support them using the fields and using the park to whatever end, as long as it's complementary. But I think the bigger issue is what you hit on, was that the entities need to get together with the park board and figure out if there's a way that they can coexist out there, because it doesn't sound like there's enough room to do a soccer game and a baseball game at the same time, because I'm a horrible baseball player, but I could hit out into that soccer field without a problem. There's not enough room for them to really, unless it was like T-ball, the little kids. So I think the bigger issue is, once the park is brought back to life by doing improvements, how those two entities coexist and what the scheduling would look
Well,
like.
you can't offer anyone to use a field that's not usable.
Okay,
So-
But also too, so if we say we invest money into this field, we never discussed also what we're supposed to hear was who's gonna maintain it. So we're gonna put all this money in fixing up this field, and then who maintains it and how and to what level. And so, let's say we put all this money into it and then it
Well,
just
who's maintaining
falls
a
apart.
soccer field?
Well, it's basically just get mowed.
The caretaker.
Yeah, the caretaker's doing that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between
It's a
mowing the
difference.
lawn and
Yeah.
with taking care of play and everything else.
Yeah.
Well,
And the other question is, where's this money coming from?
From their budget. It's in the budget.
It is.
It is. Yes, I've got unfortunately, I'm the only one that got the sign off by the controller.
Okay.
So the money is there.
But I think
So-
Pete's questions are very legit. And I understand the pressure with seasons opening up very soon. But I mean,
Well, let me also tell the board that when I was out there with the chairperson of the park board, that I went out there with yellow flags. I marked off a legal size baseball field with 90-foot lines. I marked off a soccer field. There was a 20-foot overlap between the two. But I think we can address that
mhm.
by simply clearing the vegetation off of the bank and pushing everything back a little bit closer so that we can get better separation.
So
So,
you're saying from the play area, because the Google map, if you look right now on a overview, it looks like the soccer field and the baseball field, like just the clay area, look right now like they come close to touching on the current, or now there might be a picture from Google Maps. It's 5 years old for all I know.
from home base,
Yeah.
300 feet out,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I
Oh,
was,
300.
I was 20 feet into the soccer
Oh,
play area.
okay. Where it looks like on Google Maps that just the area you would be running between the bases almost touches the field, right? The old. So you're saying that measured back, they'd be reestablishing those areas.
Right.
And they'd be 300 feet or
Yeah.
280, let's say.
Right.
Well, that's a lot better than what the map. looks like.
Also, what can be done is for the baseball folks to have younger children
Right.
using it the same time the soccer field is being used.
You are correct, and my understanding is that's what's gonna happen. They are gonna be playing a 60-foot field, not a 90-foot. Well, 60-foot baseline, 90-foot baseline.
I also have no problem, and I think it's great that they can sit and work it out, but do we have a say in that of approving that? So can they work it out fairly? And do we have say over that?
No. So
So it would,
So
if
the
it's not,
process is typically, somebody's gonna make an application for the use of the field, that goes to the town clerk. That goes to the park advisory board, who reviews it and approves it. It never comes to us.
Yeah, true.
so the soccer already applied, right?
Correct.
To use it, and I'm sure, I don't know when their season started, I'm sure it's soon, I'm sure they have schedules or whatever. So, like I said, coming to, it wouldn't be like a 50-50 thing where, okay, this baseball uses it 50% of the time and the soccer uses it another 50% of the time, right? Because obviously the baseball has been operating without it. And the
Soccer's reliable.
doesn't sound like it's a tremendous need for them to have it. I mean, it'd be nice. I'd love to see the ball field being used again and up and going again. But it sounds like the soccer, I mean, they rely on it. And I'm sure they have, they already put in a request for it and they rely on it. And they're probably probably have schedules either soon or set up already. So I don't think so if it sounds like there's more need for soccer, it wouldn't be fair to do a 50-50 time split,
I think that we could leave that up to them. I don't think we're beholden to anybody's, their schedules. I think that, there was a need for the ball field to get revitalized and to be moving forward. And I think that we owe it to the community to serve both needs.
Yeah, exactly. But what I'm just saying is, what are the needs of the baseball? I've never heard
Yes,
of this.
there's a baseball team looking to use the field. They
Right,
don't have,
but what are their needs? Do they need it 3 times a week? They need it once a week? They need it every Sunday? What are the needs? The soccer's already submitted the request of when they need it.
they
So-
submitted a request that we said that we would discuss because they weren't paying the fees. We were running in the red
No, but I'm
to
saying
maintain the field.
their
for the
request
use
is
that's being
upon their
used.
needs. We don't have a request upon the baseball.
Because,
What
because
are
there's
their needs?
nothing to offer them at this point. I mean, I can tell you that I see them practicing over at Matthew Patterson. They're playing games over at the other, but there's many leagues and they're being forced to go use Kent Fields.
I'm not disputing that they
And-
don't need the field.
No,
I'm
we
disputing
don't know.
What is their need?
We don't know what the needs are. The needs could be once a week. We'd have to find that out, but I
Right,
think
I
that
mean, yeah, that's what we need to know, though.
Yeah.
I'm saying we're spending a lot of money.
So do you want us-
Fixing up this field. I would
we're
just
we're spending money to revitalize a field so the town can use it. It's there. They should be able to use it. We shouldn't let the grass grow over it and
But
you
we
know-
there hasn't been a need for it over the years. That's
Be-
what I'm saying. So
it
when
hasn't.
it was,
I don't think that it's fair to say there hasn't been a need for it. There's been a need, but it hasn't been usable because it hasn't been maintained.
Or, well, it hasn't even been requested to be used, because back when we used to go to all the park board meetings, we were always saying, why are we having Tyler do any work on that field when nobody was requesting to use it? So the need maybe was being met in other areas. This also could this conversation could go in a whole nother direction, that if we said, oh, well, we don't need a baseball field, but we need 2 soccer fields. We're not saying that either. We're saying there right now, there's a delineated area for baseball.
Mhm.
There's a delineated area for soccer, and it's how we as you're saying, how we make sure that our park has the ability to cater to different uses. And I don't care, to be honest, whether it's somebody wants to have a family reunion and use the ball field for a softball game. I think that'd be a great use also, you know?
Or,
But
a
I-
soccer game.
Yeah, but I also
Family
agree with
reunion.
what Pete is saying about, it would be nice that if we can get some feedback when it's decided with what the use is and what the need is within the community.
I think we should vote tonight.
If we don't get the work done tonight, then
Mhm.
the baseball is probably gonna go off the table for this year.
So to be clear, I'm not suggesting that we don't move forward with the work, but I do think the answers to what Pete is saying, I think that needs to be a follow-up conversation with the board.
Well,
Because
I
they
think,
had said that that was
I
something.
agree with it. I agree with that. But I also want to point out that we've traditionally always allowed the Veterans Park Advisory Board to do all the scheduling out there. We've stayed out of it. And, you know, I would not want to insert ourselves at this point because we need to respect our boards and we need to recognize that we've given them some authority to take care of some of these issues. And, you know, not just, you know, they're not there just to be rubber stamps for us. They, you know, actually need to be functional. So, and we do have a recommendation from the Park Advisory Board that was discussed quite a bit last night. You know, I want to support them. I do.
Look, I agree with all of that. But I think also he just brought up fair questions. And that, yeah, we approve this, but we should get the answers.
I agree.
You know, and sooner the better. We have, like Mary is saying, we have to fix the fields.
Sure.
We should
It's an
fix,
investment
no,
in the
we should
property.
fix the
Mhm.
fields.
It's in the
Okay.
budget. There hasn't been any work done there in quite a long time.
And again, I had a conversation today with the chairman of the board. I think she's got a good solid path on how to try to move this thing forward and resolve all the issues. Hopefully they'll be resolved. And I'll make sure tomorrow that I reach back out to her and say, keep the board informed about what you're doing.
Okay.
We actually have a member of the Park Advisory Board here. Maybe, would you like to say a few words?
Didn't know I was allowed to speak until the end.
No, if you want to step up, you may. Just give your name for the record so the town clerk knows you.
Hi, I think you all know me, it's Barb Pereira, Fort Cornwall Meadows. I live in Patterson. I sit on the Park Advisory Board. I'm not actually here for the Park Advisory Board tonight. I also sit on the soccer board. Last night, obviously, we discussed, and you said we had discussions. And Mary made it sound like you guys would be deciding on the field use tonight, and then you guys would be deciding who would be using the field, which isn't traditionally how it was done. While we were on the park board, we used to meet with each other in a meeting, but she didn't seem to think that's what was going to be happening. So I hear what you're saying, which is the way I'm used to it happening, but not the way it was. Soccer is supposed to be starting in April. We already have our schedules out, so this is coming out of left field for us. As a soccer club, we've been running since 1980.
Was it left field or right field?
The
Sorry.
baseball field. So, anyhow, we've been running since 1980. We are 501c3. We supply soccer to the kids in the area. We have over 500 soccer players in soccer. Baseball has traditionally becoming smaller and smaller, I think, because of lacrosse, which is why in the past they stopped using the field. They didn't stop using the field because they stopped getting awarded the field. They stopped using it because they didn't actually have need of the field. I used to be close to Rob when he ran it, and then Rich when he ran it. I haven't met the new guys. I don't know who they are. I actually tried to find that out today. So I could reach out with them to try and see what we could figure out. But last night when I asked, I said, how many players do they actually represent? And they said, that's irrelevant. How many players they have. Baseball in Patterson has 4 baseball fields. Not including the one that was just changed to just a regular field behind the dump. There are 2 at Peckham that are solely used by them. And there are 2 at Matthew Patterson, fully functional baseball fields in Patterson. Plus there's a T-ball field at Matthew Patterson, which is benches around a grass area. I don't know if any of your kids ever played there or not, but that's a third field on the map at the school for baseball. So they have sole use of all these fields. Patterson has 2 soccer fields, one at Matthew Patterson and one at Patterson Park. We put 2 teams on the soccer fields every single day of the week. On Saturdays and Sundays, we have multiple teams playing games back to back. This will directly affect children being able to play soccer. And we don't put our kids out there and have them playing 50 billion practices. They get 1 game and 1 practice when they're in-house a week. And they get 1 game and 2 practices when they are travel soccer players. So it's not that we're sending teams out. So we have 500 players we're representing that honestly, I don't know where we're going to go. Now, there is no other soccer field. There is no other option for us at all in the entire school district. So it's very worrisome to me, representing a lot of children. I have no kids in the soccer club, none. I do it because I love soccer and I love the experience it brings children. So I have our schedule, it's already written. The people already kind of know it. And then last night I found out, and then they said you guys were gonna vote on usage, and they presented it as 50-50.
Who's they?
Your daughter. Mary.
Oh, my daughter.
Yes,
Mhm.
so she.
Let me
presented
ask
it-
you a question. You made a schedule before you had an approval to rent the field?
We did make a schedule. We. made a
Before you had an
schedule.
approval?
We did, because we rely on the field and I.
Sounds
submitted to
like,
her.
sounds like that was an
I'm
error.
not trying to argue with you.
I'm not
trying to
arguing with
present
you. I'm not arguing with
an
you.
issue.
I'm stating a fact or pointing something out to you. That you made a schedule before you had approval to use the field. Where, if you have 500 children playing, where else do they play?
They play at George Fisher Middle School,
Okay,
Matthew Patterson, and Patterson Town Park,
okay, so you also have other locations to play.
which all.
Yeah, but I don't think,
Okay.
all right, so
But
let's separate it. I don't think that's the issue because I don't think we're trying to limit your use of the field. We're just trying to find a way that everybody can coexist happily.
I understand. So of course, tonight when I come here, I obviously heard that. And if it is gonna be T-ball or tiny kids and they're not coming, throwing hard balls out into the field, that's probably not a conflict of interest. Probably, right?
Right.
It could probably be done. The worry is, can it be done safely? Because normally our soccer line does go right next to the baseball field. And so there was a concern, and I don't know how many kids they actually have, and I haven't talked to the new people. So I don't know if the baseball kids have grown exponentially in the past year, but I don't know if you remember, Rich, I'm sure you know, the last time they actually asked to use the baseball field at Patterson Park.
Well, that was something that came up. I rebuilt those fields on behalf of the town 10 years ago. And, they were used before that. After they got rebuilt, nobody ever requested them. It's been a very.
Yeah, since Art Rabo was on board with us. So
Yeah,
he
so-
represented baseball and we shared the field and that went well, but we did all meet together. And we figured out, and I know you're saying, you're making it sound like it's horrible that I already have a schedule. It's because we're accustomed to
I'm not
having
saying it's
fields for,
horrible. I
let's say,
think
10 years, and now suddenly we're finding out there might be a conflict of interest this very season.
I think the only conflict here is that you're on the Veterans Park Board, supposed to be representing the community, and you're more interested in the Carmel United Soccer because that's another entity of your life. You need to represent everyone, not just Carmel Soccer. There are people in this community that have children that want to play ball.
I agree with you.
And not soccer. And I think that we need to afford them the place to play it. And they shouldn't have to go to Matthew Patterson to school to do that. And by the way, I've been at that field. It's never maintained. The grass is always up to your knees. There's, I could go on and on about what's going on there. There's a dumpster right behind the fence that stinks. There's a lot, there's nowhere to sit. Why can't they play in the local park?
So I know that over the years, enrollment declined in the baseball league, and so they didn't have quite as much of a need.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a situation where enrollment is now increasing. I hope it is because I love baseball. I love seeing the Little League teams out there. Or it's a matter of Carmel Central School changing their policy, which they just did.
They didn't
So-
change, they still get to use those fields.
Well, that may be, but I'm just saying, they have changed their policy and there may be fees now associated. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing out there. But I will tell you, they reached out to Veterans Memorial Park. Not only did they reach out to Veterans Memorial Park, they reached out to the Putnam Lake Park District to use their field as well. So they're actively seeking more fields to play on. Whether they're growing or they just are being dislocated from other places, the need is there. And again.
Well, that was my concern is have they grown? And then the fact that soccer, we can't go to Putt Lake and ask to use their soccer field because they don't have a soccer field, right?
Actually, they do
Mhm.
have a field
Do they have
to
a
use for soccer.
Full modified field? Like 80 yards?
Yeah, I think they have a field. Listen, if they're not playing baseball there, they probably could get a soccer field there. yeah.
Well, Matt held a soccer clinic there once. A
But
couple
is
of
there
times.
parking though?
Well, that's the issue, the parking, it's parking challenge. Yeah.
It's just a concern, obviously, and so I wanted to bring it before the board because it is a concern, and I feel like if I don't speak up. And I'm not representing myself, I feel like I'm representing the children of the club. So if I don't speak up, shame on me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I came because I wanted to present numbers, because to me, numbers have meaning. Okay, and if any of you have further questions, obviously, you all know how to reach me.
How many Patterson Little League students marched in the parade last year? It was quite a few, right?
There-
I'm just
Yes,
saying,
there- so-
obviously, there's a lot of them.
So again, going back years, I mean, they used to have 6, 8 teams out there marching.
Mhm.
Recently, it's been maybe 3.
I think last year we had a good show.
We
So,
had
so my original wasn't to, I would love a ball field, I guess, you know, like I said, I hate seeing it sitting there and not being used. But we did have a meeting with the Park Advisory Board chair, and we had a lot of questions before we would continue. Then I thought we'd continue on with anything, and then now we're being presented tonight with a big bill to move on with stuff that we don't even have answers to. So that's what my point is.
And I understand your concerns.
Mhm.
I don't know how to answer that because it would have been nice if they had come back to us, given us the information that made the proposal. But things are happening fairly quickly because spring is on us and, you know, the Park Advisory Board now wants to move forward.
But then like, that goes my point with if time was of the essence, then is the ball field, was it really needed right now? Can it be something that we can budget for and prepare for next year?
May find you nice, obviously.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I don't really like the mic, but
Nobody likes the mic, but.
is there a way we can be put in touch with the baseball guys and try and work it out? I mean,
I don't have any of the contact. You would have to talk to the chair of the Park Advisory Board.
But isn't that exactly what the whole point of their conversation was, to pull the leaders of the two together and sit down? That was what I was hearing. Didn't we just discuss that?
Yes, that,
That's not with us, that's the park board leading the
Right.
charge. So-
I understood that once the work was in motion,
Right,
that they were going to get together, that Mary told me that she had a conversation with you and today, and you said, get them together and work out an amicable schedule, a fair schedule of
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
So we can't share?
Certainly can share.
Say anything about-
I like to share.
But
especially with
each
cookies.
points all along are correct, that Park Advisory Board was to come back to us.
I believe the board did come back to move forward on this.
But they were supposed to come back with more information about how the 2 groups were going to be scheduled.
Well, all that other stuff, we had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Been a lot of questions about parking and can they operate at the same time? Who's gonna maintain the field, who's gonna, build it? There was also questions, maybe they can even build it, because maybe they had extra clay.
Right.
Or they have extra clay that from, since Peckham's right there, they can maintain it, but I'd like to know those things. I think that's.
Well, I think that we need to start the work and we can get the answers. We still need a field.
Well, I think this gives you some of the answers that the ball field folks are not involved in installing it. Like that was one of the potential.
Mhm.
It wasn't a definitive. It was maybe there's a chance, right? That the Patterson Little League folks, because they have the knowledge, the equipment, might put in and do some equity, sweat equity, if you will. And then we even discussed, well, if they do that, how do we recognize that investment in the park with maybe reducing their fee or not charging a fee for a year or two to compensate for that? This, to me, gives us that answer that that's not part of the equation. I mean, I like it. That's what this says, is that we are contracting to do the work. And the unanswered questions are really having to do with the chair of the park board getting together with the heads of the organizations and
Mhm.
finding a compromise in scheduling that can work, that, you know, maybe this is still the soccer organization doing what they normally do and working the ball club in and starting to develop that relationship. But that, I agree that I don't want to step on the toes of the park board. I think we empower them to make decisions. I think what they should be coming back to us with is, okay, we're moving forward on the work. We're talking to the ball club, we're talking to the soccer people. Here's what we believe is going to work, and we're letting you know as a courtesy because you've asked us for input. Here's what we think we can work, and let's report back and keep the board informed so that we can, you know, serve our community in the best way possible.
Well, I think that,
Maybe I'm off.
No, it's great, but is that their stance?
I'm making some inference.
well, I think that the
yeah.
past history of the chair of park board, I think that we could say yes. That has always been the practice to keep us informed, right?
I feel like we've had good communication on
Mhm.
things the last couple of months.
Mhm.
You know?
All right,
Yes, we have.
let's move on.
Please.
All right. See where it goes. I'll make a motion that we approve Greenway Property Services in the amount of $18,485 to do service work on the baseball and soccer fields. So moved.
Second,
Can I get a roll call? Got to keep you on your toes.
Mr. Cook,
Aye,
Ms. Rogan,
Mr. Sheldon. Aye.
Mr. Zambiano,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
aye.
Supervisor Williams.
Yes. And I will defer my executive session to the end of the meeting. It is 8:15, gentlemen. This is going to be the longest outboard meeting we've had in a long time.
no problem.
I have a couple of recreation requests here from Mr. Machabaro. We have some, maybe we could get him to fill these procurements out the same way as the last one that we had. They'd be a little more legible. Port and Company fleece pullovers with hoodies and a logo. The low bidder came in from Extreme, so I'd like to make a motion to approve this purchase of 50 of these jerseys in the amount not to exceed more than $800 for Extreme Graphics. So
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
the second is another 50 Sport Tech dry wick. Low bidder, once again, Extreme Designs and Graphics coming in at $500. I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of $500 for these jerseys. So moved.
second,
All in favor?
Aye. Now we have the town hall lighting and security camera. We have two procurements. The first one is for the digital watchdog exterior camera for the west side of the town hall. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of $600 to Nikon for the security camera. So moved.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. The second procurement is for the 30-watt LED wall packs on the west side of the town hall. We're getting 2 of them, total price $1,200 for Healy Electric. I'd like to make a motion to approve not to exceed more than $1,200 for Healy Electric for the LED wall packs. So moved.
Second, with a comment,
All. Go ahead, discussion.
discussion. what is a wall pack?
It
Did
is
you
a
look at the
type of.
picture?
Yeah, do you have a picture?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
That's it.
okay,
Very
Okay.
pretty.
moving right along.
And comment, I just, it boggles my mind that we're gonna put a high-tech video camera for $600 and a wall pack light for $1,200. All in favor?
Aye.
Are these to the recommendations from the Department of Homeland Security?
They are. They're addressing those recommendations.
Do we ever get a so I assume the safety committee met on that?
Mhm.
We get a report on that?
Mary, you were there?
I was there. Yes, what would you like? To,
No, can the town board get a report from
oh,
the safety committee's discussion or findings, or obviously there's two recommendations that they approved or requested. Anything else
So
that
are
was
you
approved
looking
and
for the safety to committee to?
Yes, your recommendations.
I asked a couple months ago, if the safety committee can discuss the recommendation to report from the Department of Homeland Security and report back to us.
So that's what you're looking for is for them to,
Report back to us.
okay. We'll leave it at that. All right, you're up.
All right, first I have a memo here from our EMS administrator, Bob Kearns. I'm endorsing David Smith to be hired as an EMT with the town of Patterson EMS. This appointment would be temporary until meaningful civil service background clearance and department of hiring requirements. The appointment will be on a part-time basis with an hourly rate of $20 per hour, along with the 1-year probationary period. So I'd like to make a motion. I sat in this interview with Mr. Kearns. It's a fine young man, David Smith. I'd like to make a motion to hire David Smith at the rate of 20 per hour. So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, I have a email here from Laura Russo, the Park Advisory Board. It looks like it's like part of the second part of email, because it kind of sounds like she's answering some things that were maybe questions. Because it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The resident at 547 Lakeshore Drive asked Dennis, and he referred back to the Public Park Advisory Board. Board discussed it at March 3rd meeting. We approved the resident hiring Bill Henry to prune willow trees that are on the parkland property. So I kind of get, it looks like, again, it looks like it's part of a second email
It is not.
or a discussion maybe, or because
So is it looking for an authorization for us to authorize the park board to hire Bill Henry to do these? We
No.
just don't have a.
or is it to authorize the resident to hire Bill Henry to do pre-work at 547 Lakeshore? No, the resident to hire to do pruning on the parkland property or his own property.
No, property, you've got it.
Yeah,
So,
so it doesn't matter the cost, I guess.
yeah, so it's not a cost to us. So they're looking for us to approve this resident to hire Bill Henry to prune willow trees on parkland property.
100%.
So what's the step? Are we,
So-
can we do that?
So we would need to authorize him to go on the park property. He'd have to give this insurance, but I have a question. And Laura, you're there, right?
I'm here.
Okay, so my question is this, pruning can mean a lot of different things. Pruning can mean your safety pruning where you're removing dead wood or broken branches. Pruning can also mean that you're raising the trees up so you have a better view of the lake. Pruning can mean that you're topping the trees, in this case willows. So again, to get a view of the lake. So just simply authorizing pruning is kind of nondescript. Do we have any more information about what
Yes.
she's looking to do?
So I did email you back and I apologize, it was late. There's a piece of branch that fell originally,
Correct.
and we did work there last year that
Mhm.
Bill Henry could not get to. And he would come back and take that piece of branch down because it's a hanger. And then he would just clean up some of the stuff that's wild, but they're not gonna top the trees. And they're not gonna make it a better view.
And they're not raising the lower branches up?
No, I think they're just a couple of hangers, but not the whole thing. So I did ask you in my email if you want me to go back to Bill Henry and ask for a copy of the estimate to make sure it's gonna cover what we want or what we would allow.
So we should get some sort of documentation, and I think we're on safe ground if we're approving the tree to be pruned for the safety and health of the tree, but not topped and raising the branches.
So if there's an issue or a safety issue with the trees, why aren't we taking care of it? Why aren't we paying for it?
So as Laura said, there was a safety issue with the tree. And we did go in and we removed the hanger,
Mhm.
but we removed something that was an obvious hazard at that point. When you're pruning a tree, you can take out the obvious hazards and not take out all the dead wood, not take out some broken branches, which are clearly not going to come down. So I'm saying pruning can mean a lot of different things.
Right.
And in this case, it sounds like the homeowner wants to, again, do some safety pruning and, clean the interior of the tree up. Because what happens is that the outer branches of the tree are all getting the sunlight. The inner branches are taking nutrients away without putting nutrients back into the tree. So you want to take out the inner sucker growth branches.
This, yeah, so why is that homeowner gonna be taking care of this? Why don't we take care of it if it's our tree? Is it our
Because
tree?
it's not affecting the use of the park district property. It's not affecting us. It's not posing a danger to the property owner.
So they wanted for their view.
Well, she just said they're not raising the branches up, and I know the tree because I was out there to look at the problem. And if you're not raising branches up and you're not taking the top down, you're not improving the view.
Right,
Okay.
their interest is more for the health of the tree. And the one hanger branch that was not able to be taken down last year. And she is willing to pay for it, but she's not looking to cut down or make the tree shorter, make the tree taller for her view.
So we don't take care of the health of the tree. We just cover imminent danger.
We don't have a budget that we're gonna go around on park district property and deal with the health of the tree. We just, if there's something that's really posing a hazard to, a residential piece of property, we'll go in and deal with it. I personally went over there at the end of Hadley Drive about 3 weeks ago and took a couple trees down myself. So.
Did she say what type of tree it was?
Maybe you could build a
Ash
wall.
trees.
This tree that she wants.
this is a willow.
Like you did.
What is it?
This is a willow.
Oh, okay, so it's probably a very beautiful tree.
It's
The ash trees.
it's had its issues. Any tree for me is attractive, but this is not this big, tall, weeping willow. This is one that, has had the top knocked out of it and all new sucker growth has come up. So it's got some shape.
So we need to vote on that to approve
We need to authorize Bill Henry to go on the park district property to do the work.
like to make a motion to approve Bill Henry to go on park district property to do the work paid for by the homeowner at 547 Lake Shore Drive. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And of course, as the supervisor said before, conditioned on him providing us with insurance certificates.
Yes.
Yes.
Charles.
Pete, you okay?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Next, we have conference requests from our EMS administrator for himself and his assistant to attend call it a leadership conference, critical training for officers and supervisors being held by the Emergency Services Leadership Boot Camp, I guess, out of LaGrange, And the cost for both is $592.58. So I'll make I think it's a good idea. If anybody wants to chime in,
No, it's great. He's doing a great job.
thank you. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve this conference request in an amount not to exceed $600. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Next, we have a request from the town planning board for an adjustment of a performance bond and engineering fees relative to the Ice Pond Estates subdivision. Raising and I'll just read these last two. That the town board hereby establish a performance bond sufficient to cover construction and completion of the site improvements proposed for the Ice Pond Estates subdivision pursuant to town code of the town of Patterson. And I take this as $2,512,238. And also establish an additional amount for the inspection fees of $125,616. I don't know what this is. So a little strange. $15,
15 cents.
15 cents.
Oh, that's
Beautiful. All right. So I make a motion that the town board will first enter this into the record as read, and that the town board approve these adjustments to the Ice Pond Estates subdivision. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. All right, a couple of announcements. We have Medication Take Back Day, which is sponsored by Putnam Communities That Care Coalition, Putnam County Department of Health, and Putnam County Sheriff's Department, Saturday, April 29th,
New Vance Health.
and New Vance Health, I'm sorry, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Putnam County Sheriff's Department, 3 County Center, Carmel, New York. Don't flush your drugs, vape cartridges, etc. Second one is a free rabies clinic, Saturday, March 25th, 2023, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Park, 201 Gypsy Trail Road, Carmel, New York, sponsored by the Putnam County Department of Health. And the third item is I would like to read this letter to everybody. Dear Mr. Williams and Mr. Pippo, this is to inform you that Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, Inc. has completed its annual review of its non-exempt tax parcels, including the tax parcel referenced above, which is tax parcel 14.1-54. The property is used to provide accommodations for members of a religious order and volunteers working at the adjacent Watchtower Education Center, which is used for a number of religious and charitable activities. These include Bible-based training schools and audio, video, production, art, and photography studios used to produce various media for religious and educational publications for Watchtower's website. Because its use has not changed, our determination is that the property is likely eligible for tax exemption under New York Real Property Tax Law, Section 420-A. Notwithstanding its eligibility, Watchtower has decided not to apply for tax exemption for the 2023-2024 tax year. Last year, this resulted in Watchtower's payment of over $132,000 towards the county and town and over $350,000 to the Carmel Central School District. We are pleased to be able to benefit the community in this way. Please pass along our appreciation to the members of your staff who devote many hours to maintaining a beautiful community. We enjoy being part of it and appreciate our continued and ongoing good relation with local officials. Signed, Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And I would like to express the town's appreciation on Watchtower's contribution to our taxes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they are a real good neighbor, and we appreciate having them. With that, I will open it up to other business. Any town board member have any other business they wish to bring up at this time?
I got two issues. Number one, over a year ago, I brought to the town board our issues with our website.
Yeah.
We had discussions, we had, I brought to you my research I did, what we were proposing. At the time a year ago, the town board was all for it. We approved it. We were just waiting on deciding on which package we were going to get. Then all of a sudden there was another turn events where you said, the supervisor said, well, we need to do an RFP. We need to continue with other stuff. A few months went by, I asked where we stood with it, or the RFP. You said that I believe you said the planning department was working on it. That was like last June, so I just wanted to know where we are. There was a really good article. I don't know if anyone caught in that magazine we get, the Association of Towns magazine. Really good article about websites, town websites, municipal websites, and kind of a lot of the stuff that I had presented or we had talked about that would benefit the town with the updated new website. So I was wondering where we're at.
So I haven't finished a review of the RFP that the draft was prepared by the individuals we had working here for a short time. And the other issue is I have not resolved how we are going to move forward with emails, because if we change our current website, we also have to change all our emails as well.
So I think we need to change the emails anyway. We've been complaining ourselves for years. And from what I understand, there was issues with the other town department emails a few weeks ago. So I think we've kind of outgrown our current email system as it is anyway. We need to change or upgrade that.
So certainly we're going to have to in the near future move forward with something different on our emails. But I don't know that I'm ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater at this point. Before 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting and ended up getting canceled with our current webmaster to see what he had to offer.
He also said he was going to offer something over a year ago. He had something to offer, and we offered him to come in here and talk to us. And
I've been trying to get him in here to talk to the board.
So if you won't, and we're not getting anything, so why are we even bothering to continue with?
Peter, you are free to pick up the reins and, do whatever you'd like to do with moving this forward.
That's what I'm trying to do now.
What, go for it. Bring
I
a proposal. To the town
did.
board.
I brought a proposal to the town
No,
board
you
over.
brought a proposal to the town board and dropped it on my lap, which basically said, hey, I went to my friends at Greenberg. I got their RFP for Civic Plus. I talked to Civic Plus. We both Civic Plus. And then here it is, but I can't move it forward.
Okay, so
And-
before you continue more lies, okay,
With more. Am I lying?
can I continue? So it wasn't just Greenberg. I approached other towns, I talked to other website companies. I found my suggestion was to go with Civic Plus. We had talked with Civic Plus. They told us that they could be a sole vendor for certain things, and they gave us all that information. They gave us all the information, how other municipalities pay for it through ARPA money and all that stuff. The town board approved it. We were going to go forward with that. But we were deciding on the two packages. Was that correct, everybody? We were going to decide on the two packages. So we say, let's do a work session and decide which package we're going to get. We show up at the work session. We didn't even talk about the packages. You came out and says, well, what does everybody want with a website? And nobody was prepared. I wasn't prepared for that. I already had everything when I was doing my research of what we could use as what I thought we needed to upgrade. And then it just went a whole nother direction. And then I didn't just throw it in your lap. What I said was that it is a lot of work to manage a website, and I can't, and I'm just a part-time town board member. I can't manage a website, and that's what I was saying.
Okay,
I'm not going to be the one to manage the website. We need to find someone in the town that's going to manage that website, and they might as well start from the beginning, because why would I start something and then have to train someone to do it? Why
Did
don't,
that
if
company,
they start from
did
the
that
beginning?
company, they didn't manage it. We had to manage it ourselves.
they, yeah, basically, so they did some management, but we also had to manage it
The
ourselves.
reason why I suggested that company, because they deal in specifically with municipal websites. That's all they do is municipal websites. Kent uses them, Carmel uses them, Pauling uses them. The town of Greenberg uses them. Many towns around us use them.
And
And
let's do.
so they have it set up where it's almost set up for municipalities. What we do need to do on our end is to fill in our information. And they would actually even move over information from our current website.
They would move some information over, but we had to drop a lot of information, and that's a concern to me. So let me do this for you. Let me reach out to Peter Rebold one last time. We'll try to get him in here to meet with the town board, to go through, what his issues are with the website, and what he can do. And we'll see if we can do that.
Okay, and if
So
he
do we
does-
have a
if he
deadline on
doesn't-
that? That we
yeah.
can say, I mean, we're good a little another year on that, like we just did.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow, see what he has to say.
Okay, so we're
And I
gonna
will
have a
let you know.
deadline on that? Like,
No,
so
we're
we
not gonna have
say,
that.
okay,
Peter,
we'll just wait another year.
Hold it at the deadline. I'm working on a dozen different projects right now.
Well, if you want,
And I told you,
you said you have plenty of time cutting down trees, so.
Why don't we put it on the next agenda?
sure, I'll put it on the next agenda.
Right?
Thank you.
And then this way, so, we'll know something.
You'll know
If
something.
we don't know anything tomorrow, we'll know something in 2 weeks, right?
Okay.
Thank you. My next one thing is, next time you go out of the country, can you please let the town board know that you're going on vacation and you'll be out of the country?
When was the last time you ever notified the town board you were on
I'm
vacation?
not the town supervisor.
No, you're not the deputy supervisor either.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
So why would
the
I have to
deputy
notify?
Supervisor was well aware that I was going on vacation. Why would I notify the town board?
You always tell me to come into your office, right? I come into your office and you're not there, and they tell me you're out of the country.
So the 1 week that I go.
So I'm just, that's a courtesy. I'm not saying you have to tell us.
Peter.
I'm saying it's courtesy if the town supervisor is going out of the country. You
Yeah,
think
all
they would send a quick email, hey, I'll be out of the country for a
Peter, I'm
week.
gonna-
Sean, deputy supervisor is going to be in charge. If you have any questions, see.
Gotta turn it right back on you. When was the last time you ever told the town board when you were going on vacation? When, name one time, name
Never.
one time.
Well, I don't know why I'd have to, or
Yeah, it's all right.
why would that be,
So
why would it
I have
even
to-
matter? You don't even know if I was on
All right.
vacation or not.
Anything else?
No, not
Okay,
okay.
anyone
We'll,
else?
we'll save everything for next week.
Actually, I have one thing.
Go ahead.
No, it's small. Can we maybe get code enforcement over to, that vape shop over there has a sign above it that says, the art of healing. It has the old sign on it.
I
It's
know.
kind of, looks like false advertisement. Has a
Art of
huge
Healing.
Marlboro sign in the window. It says smoke vape, and it says the art of healing, whatever spiritual.
Like two tenants
It's
ago.
like, oh. I
did,
know, but
uh,
it's kind of like
Yeah.
contradiction.
Yeah.
So it's,
Because we did.
do we think
I
that that's
understand.
gonna, Marlboro was going to heal us?
There were
It just looks
two
different.
previous businesses that were in that. We did get hard times on their signage. Right? There's actually two places, so I don't know why we wouldn't.
So I know they've got an application in before the planning board now for a sign, I believe.
Mm,
I don't know where it stands with the planning board.
They should at least take that down.
I don't disagree.
Mm. That's all.
We can do that.
That was easy, right?
I'm good.
Public recognition. Any member of the public had anything they wish to address the board?
Hi, I'm Denise Sokomola. I'm here to represent the Patterson Town Library. In the interest of time, I'm going to be very brief. We still have room in our Create Your Own Wood Art on Thursday, March 9th at 6:30. If you'd like to attend, You can go on the website and sign up or just show up. Our program, The Local Impact of Climate Change, is on Thursday, April 20th at 7 p.m. And our program on market volatility is on Wednesday, April 26th at 7 p.m. And the rest I will let George do next week.
Now we're gonna get to see George.
Thank you, Denise.
Thanks.
Good evening, Scott Seaman, I'm in the town of Southeast. I am, good to see everyone again.
Nice guy.
I am a member of the Facilities Planning Task Force down at the Brewster Central School District. And we're finally coming to the point that we're going to be putting up a bond vote for renovations to the school district. It's coming up the 21st. It'll be from 6 to 9 at the high school. What I'm doing is just to prepare you, give you a little bit of information on that. I would like to leave some for the board if they're interested. And I've been going to the different towns and villages and asking them if we're able to leave handout flyers, maybe posters, anything that's acceptable to you in your public areas, just to try to get the word out to as many people as possible. We've gone through 3 public forums. We do have another one coming up next Tuesday. While most of them at night, this one we're actually doing in the morning for the people that say, well, I can never get it there at night. I don't think it's going to make it any easier, but having a public forum next Tuesday at 9:45 at the elementary school, JFK, which is open to the public to give information. And our website is all the information that we have, all the copies of the ones we've been through. If it's possible, I'll just throw out a couple highlights. I know it's late tonight, I don't mean to keep you. They are coming up with 2 propositions. The first one is approximately almost $60 million. While that is a staggering number, the first thing you have to know is that it's tax revenue neutral. Because of expiring debt, reworked debt, paid off debt, there have been funds set aside from ARPA, other federal relief funds that will work out that one will be, you have to say this enough, tax revenue neutral. So that will not see an increase. Now with that, the main point of that one is improvements to CV Star. For years, that's always been the little underlooked school. It was planned to have 2 sections. It has 3, and it never has sufficient space. So even with our steady number of kids, the demographics say which will remain, that's one item that they've been trying to get for years. It will put a full cafetorium in there, which will enable to put a whole grade level at one time. That's going to affect scheduling, plays. It's going to free up space in the building for 4 additional classrooms, keep the classroom size small. Now, also as related to today, the conversation in regards to the fields. At that time, we'll also be replacing the turf on the football field, replacing the track, which has more than reached its useful life. And as we've all know, there is no such thing as enough fields. So inside of the track, there's going to be put another turf field, expanding the priorities and the availabilities for athletics for our students and for the community. And they're going to put a little extra lap around the outside, which is going to be paved, because as we all know, as some school districts have made the mistake, they try to plow their tracks in the wintertime, and you can't do that. But we're going to put additional ones on the outside with lighting, be paved, so that our community members will be able to access that. Now, the second proposition is around 23 million. While that is also a large number, with the impact is going to be approximately $20 per 100,000 value of your house, because that will also get some state aid, some other items. Big component of this is we're making improvements to the enjoyment and the benefit of our students. Brewster has the only NJROTC program in Putnam County, basically a leadership course. It's the only one in this area. We're trying to improve their spaces, improve it, make it larger, make it more acceptable to them. We're also hopefully bringing in a STEAM lab, which if anybody has young kids, I mean, it's such an incredible accomplishment, and it's going to enable to build out our engineering, our tech, and I'm sure Sean with our woodworking capabilities. I was very happy to see you right up in the Putnam Westchester, where it showed that a local boy went in and look where he is now. Went to local schools.
Oh, that's
And I appreciate that.
I haven't seen
More
it yet.
people know it's out there. It's
Thank
good
you.
to see. And at the time, sorry. But I don't want to hold you any longer. We would appreciate your review of any of the programs, your support. And like I said, if I can meet with you afterwards, just to see what your feelings are, or I could have a member of the school district, because I do not represent the school district, contact your offices to make arrangements for postage, drop-off signage, whatever would be acceptable to you. And as always, we support and appreciate all you do on our behalf and for our students, because we all have the same people involved. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Scott, if you have materials you want to leave here, educational materials you want to leave here at town hall, you can leave with the town clerk.
Thank you very much.
It's got the ROTC program that Brewster runs. I've had the pleasure of working with a couple of the youth from that program in the health department over the years. They are most amazing young people. They're so grounded. They're just exceptional. They're extraordinary.
I feel like, the program has taken off.
It's
Over
unbelievable.
100 students usually.
Mhm.
This year, we're also having another student go to West Point. So in the last 4 years, we've had 3 students go to West Point. Wow. We've also gotten 4 additional scholarships, Razzie scholarships, which is a full boat.
Yeah.
So you're talking $180,000.
Wow,
So these programs are really paying off. So
that's great.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Make a motion to go into executive session.
You want to do the Zoomers?
Anyone else?
Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody here joining us by Zoom, if you have any comments or questions, you would unmute, give your name for the record.
Hi, Stacy Dumont from Bullet Hole. Good evening.
Hi,
I
Stacy.
have a compliment and a question, and Bob has a question, my husband. My compliment is thank you for having a really, really good, high quality AV system, because it's really hard to access like legislative meetings and their committee sessions, and yours is clear and you make it accessible. So just wanted to tell you I appreciate that. And I have a
Just
question.
blushing in the back.
I do have a question for Councilman Cook regarding the Ice Pond bond. And I just want to clarify what the adjustment meant. Does that mean that that money is going back to the developer, or do they owe that money?
Developer, right?
So Stacy, if I can jump in here.
Sure.
What we did was, back in 2014, we set a bond that would be sufficient to cover the cost of the public improvements that they need to do.
Right.
A number of years has gone by. And of course, the amount of money that we, established that they're going to have to post in a performance bond wouldn't cover those same improvements today. So we increased the amount of money that we're asking the developer to post before we will sign off on the subdivision plan.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And does that indicate any progress with the development, or is this just the stage that they're at?
So it's difficult to say, because we've been encouraging right along the developer to finish what he needs to do, which includes posting the fees, paying the recreation fees, and providing us the documentation so we can create the special improvement district for the drainage. And they're really minor things to do, but he keeps coming in for extension after extension. And I think at this point, the planning board, it's fair to say that the planning board has just about reached the end of their limit of granting extensions.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you for the update. And Bob has a question for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Bob.
Hello, how are you, everyone? Bob Dumont, Bullet Hole Road also. Just really one point and then a question. So we started out the meeting with a gentleman on voter fraud, and I have to say, about a year ago, I was involved in, being part of the election process. It's an extremely fair process. There's a Democrat and a Republican side by side for every voter that walks in. I would really hope that the town and the board does not draft any letters, because from what I experienced, it would be extremely difficult to have people just walk in and just be fake voters who cast votes. And that would really look poorly on both Democrats and Republicans who administer the election system and both take a vital part in it. It would be difficult to see, and I would encourage that person to become part of the process rather than find some of these statistics that just strain credibility at its very least. So I would hope that the town board does not draft any letters or act upon that in any way, because every day that passes by, it just shows more and more how this just never happened. And as part of the HOCO plan, I would certainly love to see more about that. I know I've been reading about it. From what I gather, they were trying to get a 3% increase in the number of homes. And there was also certain monies attached to it. And I don't even know, part of it might be beneficial to the town. And I would certainly love to hear more about that. And even if part of it could benefit the Front Street area or other areas in our town, some of it might be welcome. So, and of course, some of it might be not. I would agree with you, but it has to be looked at. And I think if there's certain monies that we could take advantage of to develop some housing, it might be welcome to this community. I just read something from the Carmel School District that 30% of the district or what they serve is at some level of poverty. So housing stock and affordable housing is certainly something that needs to be addressed, and access to transportation is a key for those people who are looking for jobs. So I'd love to hear more about that, and maybe see what we can do to make it benefit the town.
All right, let me just address what you started with, which was the town board potentially supporting a resolution to take a look at whether there has been voter fraud. I would agree with you, voting in the town of Patterson anyway, that the elections here are very fair. I think we've always had good staff. I don't think there's a potential here for a lot of fraud, but especially reading this report, and I'm gonna give you the name. It's New York Citizens Audit. I would encourage you to Google that and take a look at the study that they've done, because while Putnam County has some great commissioners and, we try to run a fair election process here, that may not be the case in other areas of the state, which is what this report is kind of identifying. So please take a look at that New York Citizens Audit. We can talk.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
And they're just looking to have an audit of,
Correct.
not do anything else at this point. So I don't
Okay.
see a problem with auditing it, seeing if that data is correct that they have.
All right, is there anybody else joining us by Zoom tonight that has any comments or questions for the town board? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to go into executive